Excuse me, sir, is this the Delta House?
Sure. Come on in.
They have cold beer and action on the game.
I'm shocked to find that gambling is going on in here.
It's time for the Degenerates Next Door.
Dollar bills, y'all.
My name is Jason Hammer. Rob Kendall, right across from me. We are the Degenerates Next Door. We are not professional gamblers, but for the most part, we put our record up against anybody. Now, we're not going to talk about last week. Positive vibes only. We are full speed ahead.
Yeah.
And Rob, let's not waste any time. I have action. I want action tonight.
I want action tonight. Satisfaction all night.
Again, not going to talk about last week. We are full speed ahead with action tonight. And tonight's action is the Minnesota Vikings on the road taking on the LA Rams. Minnesota is a 3-point road favorite, over under around 48.5. And as always, shop around, treat it like Christmas shopping, treat it like Black Friday, find the best number. So I'm looking at the number tonight, 48.5, and I found that number was best for me on FanDuel. If you can find another play that's better for you, knock yourself out. On paper, this seems like a no-brainer for the Vikings. They're a better football team. Minnesota might be fired up to coming off this emotional loss to the Lions, like a duel last week. But because they played the Lions, Rob, is why I'm going with the total tonight. Teams after playing the Detroit Lions are 0-4 against the spread this year.
Ooh.
The Rams in week 2, 1 week after playing the Lions, lost 41-10. The Buccaneers, week 3, after playing the Lions, 26-7 loss. The Cardinals, week 4, after playing the Lions, 42-14 loss. The Seahawks, week 5, 29-20 loss. Cowboys had a bye in week 6, and obviously week 1, there was nobody before that. 0-4 when teams have played the Lions the week before. So that spooked me off the Vikings a little bit. So let's look at the total, 48.5. You got the Vikings traveling to LA. It's a short week. Again, physical, emotional game that they lost last week. And the Rams defense is a little better than what people think. And the Vikings defense, they've held opponents to 17 points or less in 4 out of their 6 games. And again, that loss last week, short week, flying cross country. And let's not act like this Rams team is the greatest show on turf. They were coming off of a bye last week against the Raiders and didn't look real good. Trade deadline drama going on with the Rams. You add all that up, I'm cooking up an under, Rob. I am under 48.5. Now, let's talk about some prop bets. Last week, we swept the table on prop bets. The week before, we swept the table on prop bets. Aaron Jones, Vikings running back. We're going to ride the Lightning and go over 67.5 yards tonight. 4 running backs have had 90-plus rushing yards against the Rams this year, and 6 running backs have exceeded 67 yards. Jones is averaging 5.2 yards per carry. I think he gets a lot of carries tonight. We're going to go over 67.5 yards. And Cooper Kupp, thought he might have been back last week. He's back tonight. Over 6.5 receptions. Vikings defense, they're middle of the pack ranked in the NFL. Not too bad. They bend but don't break. But against passing, they're toward the bottom. 27th in the NFL in giving up receptions to wide receivers. And who in the hell do you think old balls Matthew Stafford trusts to throw the ball to? If the Rams are ahead in this game, it ain't going to be because they're running the ball. And if they're behind, they're going to have to throw the ball to catch up. Who's catching those targets? It's Cooper Kupp. We're going to go over 6.5. Rob Kendall.
It's a big number. That's a big number. Hammer, I have some breaking news for you.
Okay.
I, too, have action tonight.
Oh!
I want
Wait a minute.
action
Hold
tonight. Satisfaction all night.
Now, it's kind of understood. I'm the Thursday night guy around here, and you are Mr. Monday night. So what you're trying to do is come into my territory here.
Did you see how bad we did last week?
I wasn't horrible in the NFL.
No, I was 2-3, but that's unacceptable. That's unacceptable.
You're right. Losing week. And we don't like losing weeks around here. That was the first losing week this show has had.
Yeah, and I think I'm still 7 over for the year for the NFL. But yeah, we got to right the ship here. So I'm gonna wade into your territory a little bit, and we, my friend, are in agreement on this when it comes to that under 48.5 number.
Okay. All right. Tell me more.
Now, here's the deal. The Vikings defense has been pretty good most of the year. They didn't play great, as you said, against the Lions. But the Rams ain't the Lions. And the Rams offense, even though Cooper Kupp is playing, isn't anywhere near as good as the Lions. And the Vikings can definitely score some points. But 48.5, doesn't it just seem like a high number in prime time?
On a short week.
Yeah, Vikings have been under that number in 4 of their 7 games. Same for the Rams. Unders have hit, this is an incredible stat, unders have hit 60% of the time in primetime games the last 5 years. Minnesota has gone under in 67% of their games this year. I'll take the under 48.5.
Joining us now is our professional handicapper on the NFL edition here, Kenny Britt of KB Sports. If you follow his action on Facebook, you see his winning percentage. You see what he's doing for his subscribers. Kenny, what are we looking at for this week?
I am looking at the Bengals and Eagles. That total is 47.5. I like the over. I want to go over 47.5 in that. I highly recommend maybe buy. I know, Jason, I know you are totally against this. You got to turn in your man card sometimes. But,
you're going to be one of these point-buying weasels, Kenny. Are you going to buy 13 points and do a victory lap for your subscribers, Kenny?
No, just get rid of that hook and get it to 47. Because how many times have we been beat by a hook?
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
And the thing is, nobody ever wins by the hook. You only get beat by the hook.
You only get beat by the hook. So, and it only costs, it's minus 120 instead of minus 110. Just take it over 47, just to be safe.
How are you doing for your subscribers?
All right, Jason. I am 52-32 on the year. That's 62%. As Rob would say, if they all bet $1 million per game, they'd be up almost $20 million right now.
Damn right. Right.
That's facts. I charge $25 a week, and since the season is just about half over, I've lowered my yearly subscription to $100 for the rest of the year. That gets you college and pro all the way through the Super Bowl. And I do have a little special this week. I don't like to call it my play of the year. You could have something in 2 more weeks you like better, but I've got a game Saturday, a college game that I absolutely love. If you become a new weekly subscriber this weekend and I don't win that game, even if I go 10-0 the rest of the weekend, I'll give you next week for free.
Solid. And just $25 is a great value. Hell, my fat ass spends more on that at Taco Bell's drive-thru for myself, Kenny.
You know what? It's getting that bad. It really is. Yeah.
I wish I could say it's because of the price, but it's because I buy a lot of food. Hey, one more thing before we let you go. Kenny Britt of KB Sports. You're also horse racing guy. Like, everybody needs to have a guy that knows either racing, golf, or horse racing. Rob is the golf guy. I'm the auto racing guy. You're the horse racing guy. What are we looking at?
Yeah, next weekend, November 1st and 2nd, is the Breeders' Cup Championship. That's 14 races over the course of 2 days, with purses worth more than $30 million. It's a huge weekend. Last year, I gave out as my top play a 16-1 horse that our college handicapper hit. David, I gave him that last year, and he had a big pick 4 ticket for several $1,000s. He called me and said, "Man, I wouldn't have had that if it wasn't for you." So I'm giving that at $25. You get Friday and Saturday's card. There's a total of 22 races, and it's $25 for the entire weekend, Friday and Saturday, and that is next weekend, November 1st and November 2nd.
go to Facebook, search for KB Sports, and the profile picture is just your big mug, isn't it? Like just your fat face is the profile picture, or am I thinking of something else, Kenny?
It is my fat face with a beautiful yellow Pittsburgh Steeler hat on.
Oh, puke.
Yeah.
All right, man. Hey, best of luck. We appreciate you, and we'll talk next week.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Rob, you just heard Kenny on the Eagles and Bengals game. I've got a bet on that same game, but I'm going in a different direction. So again, Cincinnati, 2.5 to 2-point favorite at home against Philadelphia. That hook, it's interesting here. Kenny talked about it, 47.5 on the total. But honestly, I think Cincinnati's better than their record indicates, and I don't think Philadelphia is as good as their record indicates. And back me up on this. Is Nick Sirianni one of the most punchable guys in the NFL? Like the way that he carries himself, and Philadelphia is not the town to try to be fighting with your fans with, right? They will eat you alive. And I remember the game in Indianapolis when he came over to the fans and was yelling at the fans in Indianapolis because Frank Reich, his mentor, got blown out the week before. This guy is just one of the worst, just a punchable face. And I don't think his team is as good as his record indicates. So let's talk about Cincinnati. Since laying an egg in week 1 against the Patriots, Joe Burrow's been pretty damn good. 14 touchdowns to just 2 picks. And the Eagles, they've beat some bad teams this year. The Giants, the Browns, the Saints. Only one of those was really in convincing fashion. And the last time the Eagles played a decent team on the road, they lost at Tampa Bay 33-16. I like Joe Burrow to stay hot. I like Cincinnati at home here, laying less than a field goal. Give me Cincinnati to cover in this game, Rob. You are looking at a divisional matchup here. Second time these teams have played. The Colts are at the Texans. This number's made a big jump down. Opened up around 6.5. Now it's down to 5 in some spots. I think you can catch a 5.5 somewhere. Texans are the home favorite, over under around 46.
3, 4 simple words. I was trying to think of how many words it was. I hate my life. And let me tell you why. Because no matter what I do here, it's going to be the opposite. But I got to bet the Colts each week because I do the morning show, our morning show here in Indianapolis. Tony Katz has me on at the end of Friday's morning show, and I pick the Colts game. He lets us promote our show. He lets us. By the way, if you have a morning show, if you're listening to us somewhere, we'd love to pick your city's favorite team. And
right.
we
bet our record, despite last week's effort, is better than anybody you've got.
Yeah, so we would gladly come on your morning show. So I drew the short straw and have to pick the Colts each week, and they're very, 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 very hard to bet because, well, they're all over the map, and he's basically a rookie quarterback. Anthony Richardson is they were much easier to bet when Flacco was playing.
You knew what you were getting with Flacco.
And with Richardson, you have no idea. So here's the thing. I initially said, okay, they lost at home to these guys to start the season. This game's on the road. The 5.5 is a big number, but I mean, Richardson is the quarterback for the Colts. Surely the Texans can cover 5.5 points. And so I had on my little sheet here, Hammer vouch for me that is on my little sheet here, Texas minus 5.5. Then I'm, doing my number 1 rated Kendall and Casey radio show, and I'm in the break room and shooting the breeze. And Kevin Bowen, who does the morning show, you're on with every Thursday.
For our sports channel.
Yeah, K107.5 The Fan in Indianapolis. And I'm, doing a guy thing, shooting the breeze. So, what do you think about the game coming up on Sunday?
Right, wacky, talking to the sports guy voice.
Right, and he goes, oh, yeah, Colts are going to cover that. I said, oh.
And KB is a guy that used to work in that building. He knows the culture. He knows what goes on.
I said, really? He said, yeah, without Nico Collins, how good could the Texans actually be?
And that's the first thing that I thought about, too. Because you bring up the fact that the Texans beat the Colts in Indianapolis to open the season. And yes, you're right, but that was a pretty close game. Divisional matchups, man, these teams know each other. There are no secrets anymore. And the Texans, without Nico Collins, that offense is not the same.
So, in honor of Kevin Bowen, I think you kind of agree with him, and I'm sure now it'll be a 35-7 affair. But I'm going to take the Colts getting the 5.5.
So you are on the horseshoe, getting 5.5 on the road.
What have I done?
The Houston Texans. Let's take a break. We're going to let Rob Kendall contemplate his life decisions. And when we come back, a big one in San Francisco. And what do we do with the Green Bay Packers? We got picks on those games coming up. We are the Degenerates Next Door. Back on the Degenerates Next Door, I'm Jason Hammer. Rob Kendall is here. And Rob, you got a little action on America's team. The Dallas Football Cowboys, they're on the road at San Francisco. Frisco is a 4.5-point home favorite. 46.5 is the total.
We've kind of figured out Brock Purdy actually stinks, haven't we?
Does he stink or is he just not good? Because I think there's a difference. Like, you can not be good, but you can also not stink.
Yeah, that's a good
I think
point.
he's in purgatory.
Well, that's a great point. So here's what we're up against. We're up against Dallas, whose defense does totally stink. I mean, they're awful. And Brock Purdy, who may not stink, but he's not good, and he doesn't have all of his players. So what? Ayuk's out, Debo's out, McCaffrey's out. So what do we do with this? Well, here's what we do with this. Next to Andy Reid, Mike McCarthy is arguably the best coach in the league coming off a bye. Now, I never thought I would use Mike McCarthy and best coach in the league in the same sentence ever. But coming off a bye, he's 12-5 all time, 3-1 as Dallas's head coach. And like you said, sure, Dallas's defense stinks, but with all of those guys out, who is Purdy, who's not great, going to work with? And so I think we got to give, even Kittle could be out. I mean, he's got a sprained foot. He may go, but he's not going to go at 100%. So something's got to give with Dallas. I think the 49ers' injuries will mask their bad defense, Dallas's bad defense, and the Cowboys may not win the game, but as long as they lose by 4 or less, I don't care. I'll take Dallas getting the 4.5.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah!
Rob Kendall channeling his inner Jimmy Johnson. How about them Cowboys?
Final score, 49ers 83, Dallas 4.
I'm going down to Jacksonville. Duval, Green Bay, 4.5-point road favorite at the Jags. Total is 48.5. I don't like Jacksonville, but this is a tough spot for Green Bay. I feel like this is one of those look-ahead spots because Detroit is next week for Green Bay. That's the big one. Whoever wins that one is in cruise control for the division, home playoff game, all that good kind of stuff. You kind of control your own destiny if you win next week. But also, last week, Green Bay went on the road to Houston with a pretty good quarterback and going on the road in another conference, and they won the game. Meanwhile, Jacksonville's coming off 2 straight games in London, but in the second half of last week, it seems like Doug Peterson finally figured out it's okay to run the football. You don't have to have Fabio throwing 50 passes a game. You can let Tank Bigsby carry the load.
What's his name?
Tank Bigsby. Sounds like an adult film
I was
star.
just going to say he's either a running back or an adult film star.
26 carries, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns. Travis Etienne chipped in with 38 yards, 9 carries. He's active with the short passing game as well. This just feels like one of those spots where Green Bay's a little flat. Tough road game last week. Look ahead spot next week. I don't know if Jacksonville wins, but just like your Cowboys pick, I think they hang around at home. Jags have won 2 of the last 3 weeks. I'll take Jacksonville getting 4.5 points. Rob, we've talked about Detroit a couple times in this show, but we haven't picked their game yet. Tennessee at Detroit. Big number here. 10.5. Detroit home favorite over the Fighting Will Levises of Tennessee. The total is 44.5.
Yeah, and this is moving to 11.5 a lot of places. So if you can still find it at 10.5, get it for the purposes of this program. That's what we're working off of. Look, 10.5 is a massive number, but the Titans stink. and the Lions are really good. The Lions have the third best offense in the league. Now, Tennessee does have, in many cases, a top 5 defense. But the fact that their offense is this big a hot garbage means they're going to be out there all game long. And the odds are just in your favor if that offense is on in a league that favors offense, rule-wise, et cetera, over defense. The Lions are going to score some points. The Lions have covered the spread in 7 of their last 8. The Titans have failed to cover in their last 6 Sunday games as road underdogs. The Lions are scoring 30.3 points a game. If they score 30 points, I don't think Tennessee is scoring 19 or scoring 20. So I'll take the Lions covering the 10.5.
That's a big number, my friend. Big number. Not concerned about the look-ahead spot for the Lions in this case.
I just think Tennessee is so bad. I mean, how is Tennessee scoring points?
It's a good question. I have no idea. It certainly isn't Will Levis. And if given the opportunity, let me ask you this. If you were Chris Ballard of the Indianapolis Colts in the draft a couple years ago, you got Anthony Richardson on one side, you got Will Levis on the other. Do you still take Anthony Richardson over Will Levis?
Oh, I wouldn't have taken either one of them. I think he had to do that. I think he was forced into doing that.
Right. If you had to pick either one, because that was the situation.
No, I still taking Richardson because at least you have hope with him that he might figure it out. Levis just stinks.
Never really led Kentucky to massive wins. Like they had a winning record, but it wasn't like they were upsetting major programs week in and week out. There wasn't that lightning in a bottle Johnny Manziel season or anything like that.
I mean, let's face it. If the Colts started Flacco the whole year, they're a playoff team, right?
Yes. They're competing for the division.
I don't know why they always feel this pressure that they've got to. I mean, they made a bad choice with Ryan a couple of years ago. But if they'd have played Minshew the whole year, they'd have been a playoff team. They almost were with them playing part of the year. And if they'd have played Flacco the whole year, they'd be a playoff team. It's okay. It's okay just to make the playoffs. That's pretty good. But this is a pointless conversation because they're going with Richardson, baby.
So let's talk about Arizona at Miami.
Oh.
Dr. Phil, your thoughts on this game?
You're ugly. You are disgusting. I'm going to kill you. Give me $200.
That's what we're going to do here. This game is ugly. This game is disgusting. But we're going to try to win $200.
Oh, that's so good.
Miami is a 3.5-point home favorite. The total is 46. And it sounds like, at least at the recording of this podcast on a Thursday, Tua may be back under center for the Miami Dolphins. Buddy. It's a little chatter at this point. It's scuttlebutt, but the prop bets are already out for Tua. So it seems like he's going to be behind center for the Dolphins. So if I understand this correctly, Rob, I just want to make sure I've got all my facts right here. The Dolphins will either have a horrible backup quarterback, possibly third stringer because the backup got banged up against the Colts, or a very rusty quarterback who's not seen game action since week 2. And again, it's not like the Arizona Cardinals traveling cross country on a short week are putting up 50 points per game either. That's not the case. So here's what we're going to do. This is a gross game. We're going to hold our nose, and we're going under 23.5 points in the first half.
Ooh, buddy.
If Tua plays, I think he's rusty. I think the Dolphins will try to protect him by running the ball. That burns the clock. And Arizona's not any good. So factor all that up here. Under 23.5 first half, Arizona at Miami.
I like that because if you could get, theoretically, you could get 10 in one quarter and 13 in another, and you're still tapping.
And now, joining us on the hotline, one of the great Americans in the history of our country. When you think about great Americans, you think about George Washington, you think about Abraham Lincoln, you think about Pauly Shore, and you think about the man that gives you the long shot each and every week on this program, the Heartlands comedian Scott Long. Scott, how are you?
Probably the best intro I've ever gotten. This will probably be the intro that I have my opening acts give for me from now on. Thank you, Hammer. And let me mention that a lot of my friends in the past opened for Pauly Shore. Best gig ever.
Really?
In the 90s and 2000s, because the audiences thought the opening act was so funny because Paulie wasn't. So they would be like, oh, the audiences are great because they're excited to come to the thing. And you could say whatever you wanted in front of Paulie. That wasn't a problem either. And then you throw in the 90s, every stripper in America went to one comedy show. That was it. So they would appear. They would appear. Like, I mean, I don't know if they shut down Brad's Gold Club that week or what. I don't know what happened, but they would all show up. And, yeah, I mean, they were the Motley Crue. He was the Motley Crue of comedy.
He was. So, he was a one-man wolf pack when it came to picking up Tang. Like, you think about the MTV spring breaks and everything back in the day, and it was Pauly Shore that was doing the most pipe laying out of anybody when they went down there.
That's actual facts. I mean, Snopes would even back you up on that. I mean, they would. I mean, when they look up Wolfpack Weasel, then Pauly pops up, the Weasel. So, do we need to do any sports betting? I feel like I've already done probably the best call you've had all week. So,
yeah, let's go ahead and make some money here. We task you each and every week with finding an underdog for us to hitch our wagon to. We call it the long shot. What do we got?
Well, the wagon's lost a couple wheels this year.
It happens, man. It happens.
On the Oregon Trail, they're off to the side. I'm hoping the Dahmer, that was a different family of Dahmers, by the way. The Donner party. I'm sorry, not Dahmer.
You played a different Oregon Trail than I did, Scott. Good Lord.
That's for sure. So
Sally's been eaten by Jeffrey Dahmer.
I got dysentery. Scott Long's got cannibalism on his computer.
Rob's like, what is going on here? And what Netflix special is he trying to reference? So let me explain that I am going again with the Patriots, but this is about the Jets. The Jets are a 7-point favorite this week. The Patriots are not good, but as long as there's this delusional belief that the Jets are a legitimate, like, playoff level team, I'm not buying it. They're a mess culturally. They've always been a mess because of the owner. And then you throw in that they got rid of the coach, who I didn't think was a very good coach, but they didn't improve that. And now I'm hearing that Aaron Rodgers has got 2 different injuries to his leg. This idea, this notion that Devontae Adams is going to make him a better team. That was the one place they weren't weak, was at wide receiver. I mean, they already had Wilson, one of the best receivers in the league, better than Adams. They have Mike Williams, and they have Lazard. I mean, what were they doing? They make no sense. They don't have blocking. They don't have a cohesive defensive scheme. I'm over it. Take the Patriots, +7. Watch the next good quarterback that's going to be in the AFC named Drake May, who's already playing well despite nothing around him.
And if somebody wants to reach out to you for sage gambling advice, Pauly Shore stories, or maybe if they want to hire you for their awesome comedy event, where can they go?
Okay, buddy. That's my weasel. I would just say go to scottcomedy.com. It's time. Holiday parties are happening. I'm not getting the phone calls, so I need them, people. Come to Papa.
Scott's kids won't have Christmas if you don't call today.
They will not.
Scott Long, the Heartlands comedian with the long shot. Scott, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Going to take a quick timeout here, but when we come back, get your pen ready, get your paper ready, get your phone, your iPad, whatever you have, because Rob Kendall is going to ball on a budget.
Yeah.
We're going to take a trip to the prop shop. We got a few more bets to make. We are the Degenerates Next Door. Back on the Degenerates Next Door, Atlanta at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, another team coming off a short week. They're at home, though, but Atlanta is a 2.5-point road favorite. The total is 46. These guys played an amazing game a couple weeks back on a Thursday. This was where Atlanta wins in overtime, coming back late. A lot of points scored in that one, but a lot's changed since then. The Buccaneers lost both receivers of Baker Mayfield, their number one option, their number two option, this past Monday night. It's a short week. It was a physical game. They're beat up. It was a shootout the last time these teams played, but I don't think the Bucs have the horses right now. But I think Atlanta's good for at least 24. So give me the team total of the Atlanta Falcons, 23.5 over. I think Kirk Cousins, he's good for a couple touchdowns. They're going to run the ball a little bit. This is a Bucs team that just physically got beat to hell on Monday. Give me the team total over 23.5, Atlanta at Tampa Bay. Now, this is the moment people have been waiting for. Each and every week, Rob Kendall studies the Monday Night Football game better than anybody. You had a big win last week, didn't you?
No, I was winning, and then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers decided to stop playing football.
I heard yes. He's Mr. Monday Night. For the most part, he's been rolling this year on Monday Night Football.
I did pretty well. All right, here's what we're looking at. We got the Giants and the Steelers. The Steelers, Hammer, this is an incredible statistic. The Steelers have outscored teams 104-36 in the second half.
Woo!
The Giants are averaging 5.9 points per game in their last four games in the second half this year. The Steelers are averaging 19.75 in the last four games. My hope in this game is they don't beat them so bad in the first half the game is over and they keep trying. The spread, the second half spread is the Steelers, -3.5. I'm taking it against the Giants.
Oh, I love the board we've got this week. We've got first half unders. We've got second half covers. I am here for it. Truly a degenerate week here on this program. Now, if you're somebody that doesn't necessarily like some of these lines or the totals, maybe you like some action on players. I like some action on players. Let's take a little trip to the prop shop.
Take it to the
prop
shop. I'll let you lick the lollipop. Go ahead, girl, don't you stop. Keep on going till you hit the
prop. Rob, I don't have the official numbers in front of me, but last time I checked, I'm around 18 to 19 games above 500
You're
on
great.
prop bets this year.
You're amazing.
It was kind of the saving grace of a rough weekend last weekend. So already I've given you two for the Thursday night game coming up tonight. Aaron Jones of the Vikings over 67.5 rushing yards. Cooper Kupp over 6.5 receiving yards. Let's talk about Stephon Diggs of the Houston Texans. Total receptions. The line is set at 5.5. Without Nico Collins, this is who C.J. Stroud is going to target against a very poor Colts secondary. And in game one of the season, where the Colts have had an entire offseason to prepare and Nico Collins was on the field, he had over that total. 6 catches in the week one matchup against the Colts. So give me the over 5.5 receptions for Stephon Diggs of the Houston Texans. And Tua, if he's back for the Dolphins, we believe he will be, under 240.5 passing yards. I just can't see the Dolphins dropping that guy back time after time, risking him taking another shot. And I don't know if he's going to be sharp. He hasn't played since week 2. So we're going under 240.5 passing yards for Tua in his return to the lineup. Rob Kendall, the cheapest man alive.
That's great.
The king of the $2 bet.
Yep.
If you're somebody like Rob, maybe you're poor, maybe you're just a cheap weasel, this is for you. We call this ballin' on a budget.
This happens to be a $100 minimum bet table. Perhaps you'd be more comfortable at one of our lower stakes tables.
Oh! All right, you cheapskates. It's time for Rob Kendall's Ballin' on a Budget.
Very tight with $1.
All right, we had a rough week last week, Hammer, across the board, both of us, so I'm looking for a win.
You know what? I think every gambler is like this, though. Like, it's easy to send us mean tweets. Oh, you guys. By the way, we don't get the tweets when we have great weeks like we've had before. But anybody that's listening right now that considers themselves somebody that bets on games a lot, you've had a stinker before. Don't act like you haven't.
Yeah, I sent Hammer a text after that Monday night game. I don't want to live. All right, so we're dubbing this bet this week on the Ballin' on a Budget. We're dubbing this the I just need to get a win Ballin' on a Budget. and what I mean by this is the payout might not be great, but we're just looking to feel good about ourselves. We're just looking to feel good about ourselves, and here we go. So these are all heavy favorites, but games we should win. You put them together, you get a decent little payout. You get plus odds, all right? So we got Baltimore minus 430 at Cleveland.
All money line picks here.
All money line picks. We got the Chargers minus 355 at home against the Saints. We got the Broncos, a whopping minus 550 at home against the Panthers.
The return of Bryce Young did not move the needle for odds makers.
And the Chiefs minus 590 at the Raiders. Now, putting all of those together, even though it's 4 games, the odds are so slanted, it still didn't get us anything decent. So you came to me and said, we got to talk World Series.
It's a great matchup. The two best teams in baseball, the biggest stars in baseball, and it's a reminder to the Ricketts family in Chicago, when you act like a big market and spend money, good things happen.
Yeah, so we put them all together. We got the Dodgers at minus 122 to win the World Series. I said, let's throw that in there so we improve our odds a little bit. So you got Baltimore minus 430 at Cleveland, Chargers minus 355 against the Saints, Broncos minus 550 against the Panthers, Chiefs minus 590 against the Raiders, and the Dodgers minus 122 to win the World Series. You put them all together, you get plus odds, plus 297. A $10 bet would pay you $29.73.
Let's go. Let's get some mojo back, right? All right, let's recap the board here. I am on the under tonight, 48.5, Minnesota at the L.A. Rams. I'll take Cincinnati down in the jungle. I'll lay 2.5, Bengals at home against the Eagles. Give me the points. Jacksonville plus 4.5 at home against Green Bay. First half under, 23.5, Arizona at Miami. And the Falcons minus 2.5 at Tampa Bay. If you want the prop bets, just go back in the show and listen to that segment.
Hit that rewind button. That's right. All right, I'm with you tonight. Under 48.5 in Thursday Night Football, the Vikings at the Rams. I got the Lions, giving 10.5 at home against the Titans. Steelers minus 3.5 in the second half on Monday Night Football against the Giants. And then I've got Dallas getting 4.5 at the 49ers and against every fiber of my being, but that no good, rotten Kevin Bowen from 107.5 The Fan talked me into it. I'm going to take the Colts getting 5.5 at the Texans.
Those are our plays. Let's get it rolling this weekend, right? Let's get back. Let's win so much damn money we can run our own political attack ads against the people we don't like at work. For Rob Kendall, for the Heartlands comedian Scott Long, for Kenny Britt of KB Sports, I'm Jason Hammer. Good luck, everybody. We'll talk to you next Tuesday for the college edition. And as always, may the odds be ever in your favor.